There is a quiet truth that lives beneath all striving, beneath every restless thought, beneath every anxious plan you have ever made. It whispers softly while the ego shouts. It breathes gently while the world demands urgency. And that truth is this: when you relax into your being, when you soften your grip on how life must unfold, when you surrender the frantic need to control, you open the doorway through which everything you desire may finally enter. Relax, not as an escape, not as laziness, but as a sacred return. You have been taught that effort is everything, that pushing harder proves your worth, that tension is a sign of seriousness. And so you clench your jaw, you tighten your shoulders, you grip the steering wheel of your life with white knuckles, and you say, I must make this happen. But I ask you, who is this I that is so afraid? Who is this voice that trembles at the thought of uncertainty? It is the ego, that false self constructed from memory and fear, convincing you that without its constant vigilance, you will lose everything. And yet, look at the ocean. The ocean does not strain to create its waves. It does not force the tide. It does not chase the shore. It simply is. And in its being, in its vast, relaxed presence, it moves continents. You are that ocean. The ego tells you that desire requires tension. Spirit tells you that desire responds to alignment. When you are tight, you are contracted. When you are contracted, you block the very energy you are trying to receive. Everything in this universe is energy. Every thought you think vibrates. Every belief you hold sends a signal. When you relax, you shift from the energy of scarcity to the energy of abundance. You move from I don't have to I am. And that shift changes everything. Consider the orange. When you squeeze an orange, what comes out? Orange juice. Why? Because that is what is inside. When life squeezes you through deadlines, disappointments, unexpected loss, what comes out? Is it fear, anger, resentment, or is it trust, peace, love? The squeezing is inevitable, but what flows from you is determined by what you have cultivated within. Relaxation is not passive. It is a practice of filling yourself so completely with faith in your divine nature that when pressure comes, only clarity pours forth. You see, you are not here to chase life. You are here to allow it. There is a vast intelligence that orchestrates galaxies, that turns acorns into oak trees, that beats your heart without your conscious effort. This intelligence does not panic. It does not rush. It unfolds in perfect rhythm, and it lives within you. When you relax, you align yourself with that rhythm. You remember that you are not a separate, struggling fragment of existence. You are an individualized expression of the same infinite field of intention that spins the stars. The ego resists this idea because it thrives on separation. It whispers, you are alone. You must compete. You must hurry. There is not enough. But the soul knows better. The soul knows that abundance is not something you acquire. It is something you attune to. It is like tuning a radio frequency. If you are tuned to fear, you will hear only static. If you are tuned to trust, you will hear the music of possibility. Relaxation is how you tune yourself. When you are tense, your body contracts. Your breath becomes shallow. Your thoughts accelerate. You move into survival mode. In that state, you cannot perceive opportunity because you are scanning for threat. You cannot receive guidance because you are drowning in mental noise. But when you soften your breath, when you drop your shoulders, when you say gently to yourself, I am safe, something extraordinary happens. Your nervous system settles. Your mind clears. Your intuition speaks. And intuition is the language of your soul. Have you noticed how the answers you seek often arrive when you stop chasing them? The idea appears in the shower. The solution arises during a quiet walk. The clarity comes just as you surrender your frantic effort. This is not coincidence. It is alignment. When you relax, you remove resistance. And life, which has always been trying to serve you, can finally flow unobstructed. Ask yourself, what would it feel like to trust that what you desire is already on its way? What would it feel like to know that the universe is not withholding from you, but responding to your state of being? Imagine waking each morning not with urgency, but with expectancy. Not with anxiety, but with calm certainty. I am supported. I am guided. I am enough. I am already connected to everything I seek. These are not empty affirmations. They are declarations of identity. When you say I am, you invoke the creative force of existence itself. You remind yourself that you are not a beggar pleading with life. You are a co-creator participating in it. Relaxation is an act of faith. It is the willingness to release the illusion of control and step into the truth of cooperation. The ego says, if I stop pushing, everything will fall apart. Spirit replies, if you keep pushing, you will never see how beautifully it can come together. Look at the sky. Clouds drift across its vastness, storms, sunshine, turbulence, calm, yet the sky itself remains unchanged. It does not cling to the clouds nor resist them. It allows. You are the sky, not the storm. Your thoughts are the clouds. Your fears are passing weather patterns. When you identify with every anxious thought, you shrink into the cloud. When you relax into your true nature, you expand into the sky. And from that expansion, desire transforms. Desire is not wrong. It is sacred. It is the impulse of life seeking fuller expression through you. But when desire is entangled with fear, fear of lack, fear of unworthiness, fear of missing out, it becomes heavy. When desire is held lightly, joyfully, without attachment to outcome, it becomes magnetic. This is the paradox. What you grip tightly slips through your fingers. What you hold gently comes to rest in your palm. So many of you have been living in a state of subtle tension for so long that you have forgotten what ease feels like. You believe that if you relax, you will fall behind. But behind whom? In a race toward what? The ego constructs imaginary finish lines and then condemns you for not crossing them fast enough. Spirit has no finish line. Spirit is timeless. And in that timelessness, there is no hurry. When you relax, you step out of time and into presence. And in presence, miracles occur. Miracles are not violations of natural law. They are expressions of a higher law, the law of alignment. When your thoughts, your emotions, and your beliefs harmonize with your true nature, life responds in ways that appear extraordinary. Opportunities arise, synchronicities unfold, doors open. But these are not rewards for struggle. They are reflections of resonance. If you are constantly vibrating with stress, you will attract circumstances that mirror stress. If you vibrate with calm confidence, you will draw experiences that match that frequency. It is not mystical superstition. It is energetic truth. Everything is energy. The chair you sit on, the air you breathe, the thoughts in your mind, all vibrating fields of possibility, and you are not separate from this field. You are an active participant in it. Relaxation shifts your vibration from constriction to openness, and openness is fertile ground. Think of planting a seed. You do not dig it up every hour to check its progress. You do not shout at it to grow faster. You plant it in fertile soil, you water it, you place it in sunlight, and you trust. That trust is relaxation. That patience is wisdom. Your desires are seeds. When you obsess over them, worry about them, compare them to others, you disturb the soil. When you relax, you nourish the conditions that allow them to flourish. This does not mean you do nothing. It means you act from inspiration rather than desperation. There is a profound difference. Desperation contracts. Inspiration expands. When an action feels forced, frantic, fueled by fear of failure, pause, breathe, return to center. Ask yourself, am I acting from love or from fear? The body will tell you. Fear feels tight. Love feels open. Relaxation is choosing love. And love is not sentimental. It is powerful. It is the force that holds atoms together and moves planets through space. When you align with love, you align with the organizing principle of the universe. From that alignment, right action arises naturally. You will know what to do, not because you calculated every variable, but because you listened. The soul always knows, but it speaks softly. It does not compete with the ego's volume. To hear it, you must become still. Stillness is not emptiness, it is fullness without noise. In stillness, you remember that you are not here to prove your worth. You are here to express your essence. And your essence is already whole. So much tension comes from the belief that you are incomplete, that you must achieve, accumulate, impress, or outperform in order to deserve love or security. This is the ego's greatest illusion. You were born worthy. Before you accomplished anything, before you owned anything, before anyone applauded you, you were enough. Relax into that truth. Feel how your shoulders drop when you accept that you do not have to earn your right to exist. Feel how your breath deepens when you stop trying to become someone else. You are not a project to be fixed. You are a presence to be realized. When you relax into your authentic self, you stop chasing validation. And when you stop chasing validation, you become magnetic. People are drawn to authenticity because authenticity is rare. It is free of pretense, it is grounded, it is peaceful. Inner freedom begins here. Freedom is not the absence of responsibility, it is the absence of inner compulsion. You may still work hard, you may still set goals, but the energy changes. Instead of striving to prove, you create to express. Instead of competing, you collaborate. Instead of fearing loss, you trust renewal. And here is the deeper truth. What is meant for you cannot miss you. Read that again in your heart. What is meant for you cannot miss you. When you relax, you stop interfering with your own blessings. You stop blocking the pathways through which they are traveling. You understand that rejection is redirection, that delay is preparation, that sometimes the closed door is grace in disguise. The ego interprets every obstacle as a threat to identity. The soul interprets every obstacle as refinement. When you relax, you see differently. You ask, what is this teaching me? How is this guiding me? And in that inquiry, resentment dissolves. There are no justified resentments. Resentment is tension held in memory. It is the refusal to relax into the present because you are clinging to the past. But the past has no power except the power you grant it. When you forgive, you are not excusing behavior, you are freeing yourself from bondage. You are choosing peace over righteousness. When your heart is light, when your mind is clear, when your body is relaxed, you become a conduit. Ideas flow, connections form, creativity awakens. You are no longer pushing the river, you are floating with it. Imagine living this way every day. Imagine approaching your work with calm focus rather than frantic urgency. Imagine speaking from confidence rather than defensiveness. Imagine loving without fear of loss. All of this begins with a single decision to relax into trust. Trust that you are guided. Trust that you are supported. Trust that you are part of something infinitely intelligent. You are not a small, isolated being scrambling for survival. You are a divine expression of infinite possibility. The same force that grows forests and illuminates stars pulses within you. Why would that force withhold from itself? Relax. Let go of the need to know every step. Let go of the obsession with outcomes. Show up fully. Act with integrity. Align with love, and then release. The universe responds not to tension, but to clarity. When your desire is clear and your heart is calm, you create space for manifestation. It may not arrive in the form you imagine. It may not follow your timeline, but it will arrive in the form that serves your highest growth. Sometimes what you think you want is smaller than what life intends for you. If you are rigid, you miss the greater gift. If you are relaxed, you receive it. In the end, everything you truly desire is not outside you. Peace, love, joy, fulfillment, these are states of being. And states of being are cultivated within. When you relax, you return to your natural state. From that state, external circumstances rearrange. So breathe. Feel the intelligence in your breath, effortless, rhythmic, faithful. Let that breath remind you that life is happening through you, not because of your strain. Allow yourself to soften into the present moment. There is nothing missing here. There is nothing lacking in this instant. You are alive. You are aware. You are connected. And from this place of relaxed awareness, everything becomes possible. Relax. And you will get everything you desire, not because relaxation is a trick to manipulate the universe, but because relaxation reveals that you and the universe are not separate. When you align with your true nature, when you release the ego's frantic grip, when you trust the unfolding of life, you discover that what you sought was seeking you all along. Be the ocean, be the sky. Be the fertile soil. Be the calm center in the storm. Say quietly to yourself, I am at peace. I am aligned. I am open. I am ready. And then let go. Because in letting go, you receive. In surrendering, you rise. In relaxing, you remember who you truly are. And that remembrance is the greatest gift of all. And as you continue on this sacred journey of softening into your being, something subtle yet extraordinary begins to occur. The frantic noise that once felt like your identity starts to fade into the background, like a radio station losing its signal. You begin to notice the spaces between your thoughts. You begin to feel the quiet pulse beneath your ambitions. And in that stillness, you discover that you are not the architect of life struggling to construct meaning. You are life itself, unfolding meaning through your presence. There is a great liberation in recognizing that you do not have to force your destiny into existence. The sun does not strain to rise. The flower does not compete with the garden beside it. Each expression of nature fulfills its purpose simply by being fully itself. Why then have you believed that you must twist yourself into someone else's image in order to receive what your heart longs for? Your longing is not an accident. It is guidance. The desires that arise from your deepest center are not random cravings. They are clues. They are invitations from the invisible realm, nudging you toward expansion. But desire distorted by comparison becomes envy. Desire distorted by fear becomes obsession. And desire distorted by doubt becomes self-sabotage. When you relax, you purify desire. You allow it to return to its original form, an impulse toward greater expression. Consider the river as it moves toward the sea. It does not analyze every bend in its path. It does not resist the stones that temporarily alter its course. It moves with persistence, yet without strain. There is power in its flow precisely because it does not fight its own nature. You are like that river. Your purpose is not hidden from you. It is carried within your movement. When you cease battling the terrain of your life, you begin to notice how every turn has been guiding you. How much of your exhaustion has come not from action itself, but from inner resistance? How often have you drained your energy arguing with what already is? Acceptance is not resignation. It is alignment. It is saying yes to this moment so that you can respond to it consciously rather than react to it unconsciously. Reaction is tension. Response is wisdom. When you relax, you shift from reaction to response. You become deliberate instead of defensive. You choose your thoughts instead of being ruled by them. And in that choosing, you reclaim your creative authority. There is a profound spiritual truth that has been whispered by sages throughout time. You cannot attract what you believe you are unworthy of. Worthiness is not granted by achievements. It is realized through awareness. When you believe you must prove yourself before receiving love, abundance, or recognition, you create an internal barrier. Relaxation dissolves that barrier because it rests on the understanding that your value precedes your performance. Imagine living from that certainty. Imagine walking into every room knowing that your presence is sufficient. Not superior, not inferior, simply sufficient. From that grounded center, you are no longer trying to extract validation from others. Instead, you are offering authenticity. And authenticity carries a resonance that cannot be ignored. This is how your world begins to transform, not through aggressive pursuit, but through subtle shifts in being. When you feel secure within, you stop chasing people who do not see you. When you feel abundant within, you stop clinging to opportunities that drain you. When you feel guided within, you stop demanding guarantees. Certainty born of ego is brittle. Certainty born of spirit is flexible. It does not insist on a single outcome. It trusts the larger orchestration. And trust is fertile ground for miracles. You may wonder, if I stop controlling, will everything fall apart? But look at your own body. Your heart beats without your command. Your cells regenerate without your supervision. There is an intelligence operating beneath your conscious awareness that has never failed you. Why would that intelligence suddenly abandon you when it comes to your dreams? The mind seeks evidence before it believes. The soul believes and then witnesses the evidence. When you relax into faith, you are not denying reality, you are expanding it. You are opening yourself to possibilities beyond the narrow calculations of fear. There is a sacred humility in admitting that you do not need to have every answer. This humility is not weakness, it is openness. It creates space for insight. It invites collaboration with forces unseen. And often, the most extraordinary breakthroughs arrive when you surrender your insistence on being right. Release the need to micromanage the unfolding of your life. Instead, cultivate the qualities that make you receptive: gratitude, compassion, patience, wonder. These are not passive virtues, they are magnetic states. Gratitude signals abundance. Compassion dissolves separation. Patience honors divine timing. Wonder keeps your heart supple and awake. As you embody these states, you begin to notice synchronicities that once escaped your attention. A conversation aligns perfectly with a lingering question. A book appears at the moment you need its message. A delay redirects you towards something more aligned with your growth. These are not random occurrences. They are reflections of coherence between your inner world and the outer experience. When your internal state harmonizes with trust, life mirrors that harmony. This does not mean challenges disappear. Storms will still arise. Plans will still shift, but you will navigate them differently. Instead of tightening against adversity, you will soften into resilience. Instead of collapsing into self-doubt, you will inquire, what strength is being awakened in me now? The journey of relaxation is not about eliminating effort. It is about refining intention. Effort fueled by fear depletes you. Effort inspired by love energizes you. When you align your actions with what feels expansive rather than constrictive, you discover a well of vitality that does not depend on external applause. And here is another quiet revelation. What you are seeking through achievement is often a feeling. You believe the promotion will bring security, the relationship will bring belonging, the accomplishment will bring fulfillment. But those feelings are not contained within events. They are cultivated within consciousness. When you relax into your own completeness, you generate the very feelings you once projected onto future outcomes. From that state, your actions become expressions rather than pursuits. You create not to fill a void, but to share your fullness. And fullness attracts fullness. Let your life become an offering instead of a negotiation. Instead of asking, what can I get? Ask, what can I give from the overflow of who I am? Paradoxically, the more you give from authenticity, the more you receive. Not because you are earning rewards, but because you are participating in the natural circulation of energy. Energy must move to remain vibrant. When you clutch it tightly, whether it is love, money, praise, or control, it stagnates. When you allow it to flow through you, it replenishes itself. Relax into generosity. Relax into trust. Relax into your divine inheritance. You are not here to struggle against existence. You are here to dance with it. The rhythm may change, the tempo may surprise you, but if you remain supple, you will never lose your balance. Rigidity shatters under pressure. Flexibility adapts and grows stronger. Each breath you take is an invitation to begin again. The past does not define this moment unless you allow it to. The future does not threaten this moment unless you project it. Right here, right now, there is a quiet perfection waiting to be recognized. Let yourself rest in that recognition. Feel how different life becomes when you are no longer bracing against it. Notice how conversations soften when you are not preparing defenses. Observe how creativity blossoms when you are not judging every idea. The world responds differently when you respond differently. And so, continue this practice of gentle surrender. Continue returning to the spacious awareness beneath your thoughts. Continue trusting that you are supported by a wisdom greater than your plans. Each time fear tightens its grip, meet it not with resistance, but with compassion. Say to it, thank you for trying to protect me, but I choose trust. Over time, trust becomes your default state. Ease becomes natural. Joy becomes less dependent on circumstance. And you realize that what you once believed you had to chase has been quietly gravitating toward you all along. Relax. Not because you have given up on your dreams, but because you have remembered who you are, a conscious expression of infinite possibility, guided by an intelligence that never sleeps, sustained by a love that never withholds. And in this remembering, desire and fulfillment are no longer separate experiences. They are movements within the same sacred dance of being. Take a deep breath with me right now. Not the hurried breath of someone chasing the next moment, not the anxious inhale of a mind trying to control outcomes, but the slow, deliberate breath of a soul, remembering something ancient. Feel it. Life is breathing you. You are not managing the breath. The breath is happening. And in that simple realization is a profound truth. There is an intelligence beating your heart, growing your fingernails, moving the tides of the oceans, spinning galaxies in silent perfection. That same intelligence is guiding your life. Relax. Life already knows the way. From the moment you arrived in this physical body, something far greater than your personality has been at work. Before you had a name, before you developed preferences, before you learned the language of comparison and fear, you were pure presence. You were the sky before the clouds appeared. You were the ocean before the waves began to identify themselves as separate. And yet somewhere along the way, the ego whispered a lie. It said, you must control everything. You must compete. You must defend. You must prove. And you began to believe that you were the wave, struggling against other waves, terrified of crashing onto the shore. But what if you are not the wave? What if you are the ocean itself? The wave rises and falls. It appears for a moment, dazzling in the sunlight, and then dissolves back into the vastness. The ego trembles at this idea because it seeks permanence in form. It wants the wave to last forever. It wants recognition, applause, certainty. Yet the ocean is never diminished when a wave disappears. It is simply expressing itself in infinite shapes. In the same way, your life is an expression of an infinite intelligence. Your job is not to force the wave higher. Your job is to remember you are the water. So many of us live in quiet panic. We grip our goals. We strategize every detail. We replay past conversations. We forecast imaginary disasters. We believe that if we do not strain and struggle, everything will collapse. But look at the trees outside your window. They are not straining to grow. They are not competing with the sky. They are rooted. They trust the soil, the rain, the unseen process unfolding beneath the surface. The oak does not envy the pine. The rose does not rush the spring. Nature does not hurry, and yet everything is accomplished. Why do we imagine we are separate from that same divine orchestration? The ego says, if I relax, I will fall behind. The soul whispers, if you relax, you will align. And alignment is far more powerful than effort. When you are aligned with your source, you move with the current of life instead of against it. You stop trying to swim upstream, exhausted and resentful, and you allow yourself to be carried by something wiser than your intellect. This does not mean passivity. It means participation without fear. It means action inspired by trust rather than driven by anxiety. There is a difference between forcing a door open and walking through one that gently swings towards you. Life is constantly presenting doors. Some open easily, others remain closed no matter how hard you push. The ego interprets a closed door as rejection. The soul sees redirection. How many times have you looked back at an event you once called a disaster and realized it was a blessing in disguise? The job you didn't get, the relationship that ended, the plan that collapsed, each one carved a new path you could not see at the time. The mind judged it as failure, but the larger intelligence was rearranging the pieces of your life into a design more aligned with your growth. Life already knew the way, even when you didn't. The problem is not that life is chaotic. It is that we are addicted to certainty. We want guarantees. We want to know how everything will unfold before we take a single step. But faith is not the absence of planning. It is the absence of fear. Faith is knowing that whatever happens, you are supported by something eternal. It is understanding that you are not a fragile accident drifting through randomness. You are a divine creation, participating in a divine plan. Imagine holding an orange in your hand. When you squeeze it, what comes out? Orange juice. Not apple juice, not grape juice. Why? Because that is what was inside. When life squeezes you through pressure, through uncertainty, through loss, what comes out? Anger, bitterness, blame? That is not life's fault. That is what was inside. And the squeezing is not punishment. It is revelation. It shows you where healing is needed. It shows you the places where the ego still believes it is separate and in danger. When you remember that you are the ocean, not the wave, the squeezing changes. Pressure becomes purification. Challenge becomes invitation. You begin to ask, what is life teaching me? How is this serving my awakening? Instead of resisting what is, you lean into it with curiosity. You trust that even discomfort is part of the choreography. There is a rhythm to existence. Day becomes night. Winter becomes spring. Inhale becomes exhale. Birth becomes death. None of it is a mistake. Yet the ego clings to one side of every duality. It wants perpetual summer, constant success, endless applause. It forgets that without winter, there is no renewal. Without silence, there is no music. Without stillness, there is no clarity. You are not here to control the rhythm. You are here to dance with it. When you stop arguing with reality, something miraculous happens. The energy you once used to resist becomes available for creation. The mind quiets. The heart opens. You begin to feel guided rather than pressured. Synchronicities appear. Conversations align. Opportunities unfold with a sense of effortlessness that once seemed impossible. This is not magic, it is alignment. It is what happens when the wave stops fighting the ocean. The ego fears surrender because it confuses surrender with defeat. But surrender is not giving up, it is giving over. It is releasing the illusion that you must micromanage the universe. It is trusting that the same intelligence that paints sunsets and orchestrates the migration of birds is fully capable of guiding your career, your relationships, your dreams. Do you truly believe you are separate from that intelligence? Or have you simply forgotten? Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the vast sky. Clouds drift across it, some light and wispy, others dark and stormy, but the sky itself remains untouched. It does not cling to the clouds or resist them. It allows them to pass. Your thoughts are like those clouds. Worry drifts in, doubt forms, fear gathers like a storm. And you, identifying with the cloud, panic, but you are not the cloud. You are the sky, vast, unchanged, limitless. When you rest in that awareness, you realize that no external event can define you. Success does not inflate you. Failure does not diminish you. Praise does not complete you. Criticism does not destroy you. You are already complete because your essence is divine. And when you know this, you stop scrambling for validation. You stop chasing outcomes as if they are proof of your worth. Relax. Life already knows the way. Every time you attempt to force an outcome from a place of fear, you step out of alignment. You tighten, you constrict. You shrink into the illusion of separateness. But when you act from inspiration, from that quiet inner knowing, you expand. There is a lightness, a sense that you are being moved rather than pushing. This is the difference between ego-driven ambition and soul-guided intention. Intention is not about controlling details. It is about aligning with qualities. If you set the intention to live in peace, you will be guided toward experiences that teach peace. If you set the intention to embody love, you will encounter situations that invite you to choose love over fear. The path may not look like you expected, but it will always serve your evolution. Consider the seed planted deep within the earth. In darkness, it breaks open. From the perspective of the seed, this breaking might feel like death, yet it is the beginning of growth. You, too, have experienced moments when everything seemed to be falling apart. Perhaps it was not falling apart. Perhaps it was breaking open. Perhaps life was creating space for something greater to emerge. The ego resists breaking open because it thrives on familiarity. It would rather remain in a small, known prison than step into vast uncertainty. But the soul longs for expansion. It longs to express its infinite nature through you. And when you cling to the old, you block the new. When you insist on controlling the script, you miss the improvisation of grace. There is a deep intelligence within you that always knows the next step. Not 10 steps ahead, not the entire map, just the next step. And that is all you ever need. The mind demands the whole staircase before it takes a step. The heart needs only the next stone illuminated. When you listen to that quiet inner voice, you are guided with precision. It may tell you to rest when the world says hustle. It may tell you to speak when fear says stay silent. It may tell you to let go when attachment screams hold on. Trust it. Trust that the discomfort you feel is not evidence of failure, but evidence of growth. Trust that the delays are not punishments, but preparations. Trust that even the endings are sacred. For every ending clears space for a beginning aligned with who you are becoming. You are not here to survive life. You are here to participate in its unfolding with awareness. When you shift from control to trust, from fear to faith, from ego to essence, something extraordinary happens. You experience freedom. Not freedom from circumstances, but freedom within them. You realize that peace is not found in arranging the world to your liking. Peace is found in aligning with the deeper current that flows beneath appearances. Imagine floating on your back in a calm sea. If you thrash and panic, you exhaust yourself. If you relax, the water holds you effortlessly. Life is like that. When you trust, you are held. When you fight, you sink into anxiety. The choice is not about controlling the ocean. It is about choosing your posture within it. I am not suggesting that challenges will disappear. Storms will come. Waves will rise. But when you know you are the ocean, the storm does not define you. It passes through you. And afterward, you remain vast, undisturbed at your core. Say to yourself quietly, I am guided. I am supported. I am exactly where I need to be. Feel the resonance of those words. They are not empty affirmations. They are reminders of truth. When you declare I am, you speak from the same creative power that brought the universe into being. You align with the source of all existence, and from that place, fear dissolves. The more you relax into trust, the more you notice that life is not happening to you, it is happening through you. You are both the instrument and the musician. The melody of your life is being composed in real time, and your role is to allow it to flow without insisting it sound a certain way. When you stop criticizing the notes, you begin to appreciate the symphony. There is no rush. The oak tree does not become mighty overnight. The river does not reach the ocean in a single leap. Everything unfolds in divine timing. Impatience is a signal that the ego is demanding immediate gratification. Patience is the soul's understanding that growth is invisible before it becomes visible. Relax. Life already knows the way. You do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to eliminate every uncertainty. You do not need to fix every imperfection. You need only to remain connected to the awareness that you are more than your thoughts, more than your fears, more than your temporary circumstances. You are an eternal being having a human experience, and that experience is designed for expansion. When you wake each morning, instead of asking, what do I have to control today? Ask, how can I align today? Instead of saying, what if things go wrong? Say, what if everything is unfolding perfectly for my highest good? Feel the shift in energy. Feel the spaciousness that enters your body. That is the difference between ego and essence. In the end, you will see that every twist in your path was purposeful. Every detour led to a deeper understanding of who you truly are. Every challenge refined your character. And the moments you thought you were lost were the moments you were being led. So release the tight grip. Soften your shoulders. Let your breath deepen. The universe is not confused about your destiny. The same intelligence that moves the stars is moving you. You are not behind. You are not off track. You are not forgotten. You are carried. And when you remember this, when you truly embody it, a profound calm settles into your being. You move through the world with quiet confidence. You act when inspired. You rest when called. You speak from love. You release resentment. You forgive quickly because you understand that holding on to anger is like gripping a hot coal. It only burns you. You trust that every soul you encounter is part of the grand design of your awakening. Relax. Life already knows the way. Let this truth sink into the deepest layers of your consciousness. Let it replace the old narrative of struggle and scarcity. Let it dissolve the illusion that you must fight for your place in the universe. You already belong. You always have. You always will. And as you walk forward from this moment, carry this awareness like a quiet flame within your heart. When doubt arises, return to it. When fear whispers, breathe into it. When uncertainty appears, smile gently and remember, the path is unfolding exactly as it must. You are the ocean. You are the sky. You are the intelligence behind the breath. Trust it. Align with it. Relax into it. Life already knows the way. And as you continue along this sacred journey, there will be moments when the path ahead appears obscured, when the horizon seems wrapped in fog, and your carefully constructed plans dissolve like mist in the morning sun. In those moments, the invitation is not to panic, not to grasp for certainty, but to deepen your listening. For beneath the noise of the world, beneath the chatter of the conditioned mind, there is a current of knowing that has never once been confused about your direction. You were born with an internal compass that does not rely on external approval. It does not spin wildly in the presence of criticism, nor does it inflate under praise. It is calibrated to truth, yet many have been taught to distrust it. We have been conditioned to look outward for permission, to measure our worth by comparison, to seek validation in fleeting applause. And so the compass grows quiet, not because it has failed, but because it is waiting for you to remember its voice. When you begin to honor that inner guidance, something subtle shifts. Decisions are no longer made from fear of missing out or fear of falling behind. They arise from resonance. You feel into a choice rather than calculate it to exhaustion. There is a softness in the body when something aligns, a constriction when it does not. Your body is not merely flesh and bone, it is an instrument of intuition. It speaks in sensation long before the mind formulates language. Consider how a river finds its way around obstacles. It does not argue with the rock. It does not attempt to overpower the mountain. It flows, it curves, it adapts without losing its essence. That is strength without aggression. That is power without force. You, too, possess this capacity. When resistance appears in your life, you can meet it with rigidity or you can meet it with fluidity. The river never doubts that it will reach the sea. It understands that every bend is part of the journey. So often we mistake delay for denial. We assume that if something does not manifest immediately, it must not be meant for us. But what if timing is an act of compassion? What if certain doors remain closed because you are still gathering the wisdom required to walk through them? There are seasons for planting and seasons for harvesting. To demand fruit from a seed that has just been placed in the soil is to misunderstand the rhythm of growth. Within you exists the quiet sanctuary, untouched by circumstance. It is not shaken by market fluctuations, not diminished by relational conflict, not defined by titles or possessions. It is the space of pure awareness. When you rest there, even briefly, you recognize that your essence has never been wounded. Experiences may have left impressions on the personality, but the core of your being remains whole. Healing, then, is not about fixing what is broken. It is about remembering what has always been intact. The ego thrives on narrative. It collects grievances like trophies, rehearses stories of injustice, clings to identities shaped by past pain. Yet these stories, repeated often enough, begin to feel like truth. And still, you have the power to step outside the script. You can observe the story without becoming it. You can witness the memory without reliving the emotion. In that witnessing, freedom emerges. Forgiveness becomes less about excusing behavior and more about liberating yourself from energetic entanglement. To forgive is to declare that your peace is more valuable than your resentment. It is to release the illusion that holding on to anger will somehow restore balance. The past exists only as a thought in the present moment. And in this moment, you are free to choose a different interpretation, a different response, a different identity. Imagine standing before a mirror that reflects not your physical form, but your beliefs. What would you see? Would you see limitation or possibility, scarcity or abundance? If you have been gazing into a mirror of doubt, you may have forgotten that you are the one holding it. You can tilt it toward faith. You can polish it with gratitude. The reflection changes when the perception shifts. Gratitude is not a denial of difficulty. It is an acknowledgement of underlying grace. Even in the midst of challenge, there are threads of support woven through your experience. A lesson learned, a strength discovered, a compassion awakened. When you train your awareness to notice these threads, life begins to feel less like a battleground and more like a classroom designed for your expansion. There is immense power in the simple declaration, I am willing. Willing to grow, willing to release, willing to trust, willing to see differently. Willingness opens doors that force cannot. It softens the rigid edges of expectation and creates space for miracles to enter. And miracles, contrary to popular belief, are not violations of natural law. They are expressions of a higher law, operating beyond the limited perception of the ego. When you align with that higher law, synchronicity becomes commonplace. You think of someone and they call. You contemplate a new direction and an unexpected opportunity appears. These are not random coincidences. They are reminders that you are participating in an interconnected field of intelligence. Your thoughts carry energy. Your intentions ripple outward. You are not isolated. You are intricately woven into the fabric of existence. This understanding dissolves loneliness at its root. Even in solitude, you are accompanied by the presence that animates all life. The same force that causes flowers to turn toward the sun resides within your own awareness. You are never outside of it. You cannot fall from its embrace. The feeling of separation is a learned perception, not an ultimate truth. As you deepen into this realization, comparison begins to lose its grip. You no longer measure your journey against another's timeline. You recognize that each soul unfolds uniquely, like distinct notes in a vast symphony. To envy another's melody is to forget the beauty of your own. When you honor your path, you contribute authentically to the whole. There will still be moments of uncertainty. This is part of the human experience. But uncertainty need not equate to fear. It can become a sacred space of potential. When the future is unwritten, possibility is infinite. Instead of filling that space with worst-case scenarios, you can fill it with trust. You can say, I do not see the entire design, but I trust the designer within. And so you move forward, not with reckless abandon, but with quiet confidence. You take inspired steps without demanding immediate proof. You allow relationships to evolve naturally. You release the need to micromanage outcomes. You recognize that control is often a disguised form of insecurity, while trust is an expression of inner strength. Each morning becomes an opportunity to recommit to this alignment. Before the world rushes in with its demands, you center yourself in stillness. You remember that you are a spiritual being engaging in human activity, not a human being occasionally having a spiritual thought. From that remembrance, your actions carry a different quality. They are infused with intention rather than urgency. And as the days unfold, you begin to notice a gentle transformation. Situations that once triggered anxiety now invite curiosity. Interactions that once sparked defensiveness now offer compassion. You respond rather than react. You listen rather than assume. This is the quiet evolution of consciousness. It does not announce itself with fanfare. It reveals itself in subtle shifts of perception. The world may continue its noise, its speed, its endless striving. But within you, there is a sanctuary of calm that cannot be shaken. You carry it into boardrooms and kitchens, into conversations and quiet evenings. It becomes the foundation from which you live rather than a place you visit only in crisis. And in this way, your life becomes less about achieving a distant destination and more about embodying a present truth. You realize that fulfillment is not postponed until some future milestone. It is available now, in this breath, in this awareness, in this gentle surrender to the intelligence that has always been guiding you. So walk forward with a softened heart and an open mind. Let go of the need to choreograph every detail. Allow yourself to be surprised by grace. When confusion arises, pause instead of pushing. When fear whispers, return to your inner stillness. When doubt appears, remember the countless times you were carried through what once seemed impossible. There is a wisdom within you that predates your worries. There is a strength within you that does not depend on circumstance. There is a love within you that requires no external source. Anchor yourself there. And as you do, you will find that life does not demand your constant vigilance. It invites your conscious participation. It does not require your struggle. It welcomes your trust. It does not need you to dominate the current. It asks you to flow with it. Breathe deeply again. Feel the quiet assurance settling into your bones. You are not lost. You are not unsupported. You are not navigating a meaningless maze. You are unfolding precisely as you are meant to unfold. And in that unfolding, there is a quiet perfection. And as you stand here in this awareness, something within you grows still. Not the stillness of emptiness, but the stillness of deep knowing. The kind of knowing that does not need evidence. The kind of knowing that feels like home. You begin to sense that nothing in your life has been accidental. Not the detours, not the heartbreaks, not the long nights of questioning. Each experience has been a brushstroke on the canvas of your awakening. What once felt like chaos now reveals itself as choreography. What once felt like loss now reveals itself as refinement. You are not becoming whole. You are remembering that you have always been whole. The striving softens. The urgency dissolves. You no longer chase the horizon because you realize the horizon moves with you. The fulfillment you sought in distant achievements begins to glow quietly from within. It was never waiting at the finish line. It was waiting in your recognition. There is a profound gentleness available to you now. A way of walking through the world without armor, a way of speaking without defense, a way of loving without bargaining. When you trust the intelligence that breathes you, you no longer feel compelled to prove yourself to anyone. You understand that a rose does not struggle to justify its fragrance. It simply blooms. And so you bloom. You bloom in uncertainty. You bloom in transition. You bloom even in the presence of unanswered questions, because your blooming is not dependent on perfect conditions. It is an expression of your essence. You are life expressing itself as you, and life does not hesitate. Feel the quiet miracle of your own existence, the heart beating without your command, the lungs rising and falling in sacred rhythm, the awareness reading these words, all of it guided by something vast and benevolent. You are not separate from that vastness. You are a unique expression of it. Let this realization settle deeply. You are supported in ways you cannot always see. You are guided in ways you may not always understand. And you are loved by the very force that holds galaxies in place. Release the final remnants of resistance. Let the shoulders drop. Let the breath lengthen. Let the mind rest from its constant calculations. There is nothing you must solve in this moment. There is nowhere else you must be. This moment is complete, and so are you within it. Trust the unfolding. Trust the quiet nudges of your heart. Trust the invisible current moving beneath appearances. You are not walking alone. You have never walked alone. The path rises to meet your feet with each step, even when you cannot see beyond the next few inches of light. And as you move forward from here, carry this gentle certainty. You do not have to force the river. You do not have to command the sunrise. You do not have to control the turning of the seasons. Relax. The wisdom that created the stars is guiding your life with the same precision, and it has always known the way.